بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله الأزكياء وأصحابه الأتقياء أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون ولا جنبا إلا عابري سبيل حتى تغتسلوا وإن كنتم مرضى أو على سفر أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط أو لامستم النساء فلم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا فامسحوا بوجوهكم وأيديكم إن الله كان عفوا غفورا ألم تر إلى الذين أوتوا نصيبا من الكتاب يشترون الضلالة ويريدون أن تضلوا السبيل والله أعلم بأعدائكم وكفى بالله وليا وكفى بالله نصيرا من الذين هادوا يحرفون الكلم عن مواضعه ويقولون سمعنا وعصينا واسمع غير مسمع وراعنا ليا بألسنتهم وطعنا في الدين ولو أنهم قالوا سمعنا وأطعنا واسمع وانظرنا لكان خيرا لهم وأقوم ولكن لعنهم الله بكفرهم فلا يؤمنون إلا قليلا يا أيها الذين أوتوا الكتاب آمنوا بما نزلنا مصدقا لما معكم من قبل أن نطمس وجوها فنردها على أدبارها أو نلعنهم كما لعنا أصحاب السبت وكان أمر الله مفعولا إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر ما دون ذلك لمن يشاء ومن يشرك بالله فقد افترى إثما عظيما ألم تر إلى الذين يزكون أنفسهم بل الله يزكي من يشاء ولا يظلمون فتيلا انظر كيف يفترون على الله الكذب وكفى به إثما مبينا صدق الله العظيم. Inshallah, today we are starting our class from verse number 43 of Surah Nisa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off this ayah by saying, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَقْرَبُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَنْتُمْ سُكَارَى حَتَّى تَعْلَمُوا مَا تَقُولُونَ. O you who have believed, do not approach prayer while you are intoxicated until you know what you are saying, or in a state of janaba, except those passing through a place of prayer until they have washed your whole body, until you have washed your whole body. In this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not come close to salah while you are intoxicated. Being in the state of intoxication is haram in the deen. It's not permissible. Unless it's done through medication a doctor has prescribed. Otherwise, out of one's own wills, just to get that high, get that feeling to intoxicate yourself, is not permissible. Remember this principle, مَا أَسْكَرَ كَثِيرُهُ فَقَلِيلُهُ حَرَامٌ. Whenever you consume something in your mouth, whenever anything goes inside your mouth, you need to ask yourself one question. Does it intoxicate me or does it not intoxicate me? If it intoxicates you, if whatever you're putting in your mouth will intoxicate you, then eating that thing and consuming that thing, even 1 gram of it will be completely haram. Even 1 ounce of it will be completely haram. And even if you say that, oh, this only intoxicates me when I have it in abundance, I have to have it in abundance in order to intoxicate me. But even if it intoxicates you in abundance, even having a little of it is not halal. The principle is, مَا أَسْكَرَ كَثِيرُهُ فَقَلِيلُهُ حَرَامٌ. مَا أَسْكَرَ كَثِيرُهُ فَقَلِيلُهُ حَرَامٌ. Whatever intoxicates you in abundance, even the little of it is also haram. If what you're having does not intoxicate you, now what you need to see is what is the content and what is the frequency of what you're having. So anything that's not intoxicating, for example, give me an example. Pepsi, coffee, right? Your same question goes with your tobacco, right? It's not intoxicating. Anything that's not intoxicating, now you have 2 questions. The first thing is, what is the content of it, right? And how harmful is that to your body? And the second thing is the frequency of the usage of that thing. Let's say, for example, we all know sugar is bad for the body, okay? So it can be bad. But at the same time, we won't say it's haram just because sugar is bad for your body. What's the second question we'll have to ask? How frequent do you have it? So let's say, for example, someone's having 5 spoons of sugar a day, and they're having in the cup of tea, and they're having 4 to 5 cups of tea, then any person with the right mind will tell you that tea there and that sugar for you to have in that quantity with that frequency is haram. It's not permissible for you. Because in the long run, it's going to kill you. Just as you say that it's not permissible to smoke, how many ever cigarettes per day or something, anyone in the road will tell you that's haram because, that frequency with that content, it's going to harm you. So the same thing, if you're having something that the content of which is harmful, and the frequency is on the level that the harm is definite, it's detrimental, it really hurts you, then in that case we will say that it's not permissible to have that thing. If the content is haram, if the content is harmful, yet there's also benefit in there. If the content is harmful, yet there's also some benefit in that product, and you have a very low frequency of the usage of that thing, then at maximum you may say it's disliked, but you can never say it's haram. So for example, there's someone, I know I'm just making up this example. Someone smokes a cigarette, but he smokes one cigarette in 10 days. Now there's no one on the face of this earth that can say smoking one cigarette in 10 days will be haram. No one can say that. The reason is because the harm of that one cigarette in comparison to 10 days is way less than almost anything that you're eating in those 10 days. You guys understand that? But that, for the young ones sitting here, don't take that as a fatwa and start smoking now. Let me make that clear to you guys, okay? Cigarette has nicotine in it, and that nicotine will get you addicted. I know so many friends of mine. Just the other day, one of my friends was telling me that I never smoked in my life, and I used to actually look down on people who used to smoke cigarettes, right? I used to look down on them and make fun of them, and he said one day what happened was that, and he made it all the way through high school. He made it all the way through the toughest time of life. He made it through high school without smoking a single cigarette. And he said what happened was that one day I was with my friends, and something happened to him. He had a very tough day, and one of his friends said to him, have a cigarette. It'll calm you down. Like some kind of dhikr or something, stuff, right? It's going to calm you down. So he took it and put it in his mouth, and he said, it didn't taste good. He told me this, it didn't taste good. I didn't enjoy it. But I just thought that was a cool thing to do, and if my friend said it was going to calm me down, I tried it the second time, third time, and before you knew it now, mashallah, he's having 4 packets per week. How many? 4. I don't even know how much is in a packet, but if you do the calculations, I'm assuming it's a lot of cigarettes per day, right? And people are doing this all the time, you know? Now we're at a time where if you tell someone that what you're doing, the content you're having and the frequency you're having it at is completely haram. It's haram for you to have that. Right? What happens to us is that we have double standards too. I'm going to be honest with you. Our double standards are that if someone has something that's coming out of the mouth that has some sort of smoke to it, then we jump on him and say, haram! Not permissible, get away from it. But if that person is chewing on tobacco and he's swallowing those juices or spitting it out in a cup, then what do we say to that person? Oh, it's permissible, it's okay. As long as there's no smoke coming out of the mouth, it's okay. So the same principle applies. You have to remember the principle. Okay, whenever you consume something, the first thing you have to ask yourself, is it intoxicating or is it not intoxicating? If it's intoxicating, even in abundance or a little, what happens to that? It's haram. If it's not intoxicating, then you need to ask yourself how many questions? 2 questions. What is the content of what you're having? And the second thing is, what is the frequency? The only way this can become halal, something that's intoxicating, is if a doctor recommends it for medicational purposes and there's no other solution out there. If the doctor gives you something that can intoxicate you, you need to first verify with the Muslim doctor if there is another substitute out there. If the Muslim doctor says there is no other substitute, then it's permissible to have that, right? One person came to me and he asked me a question. This is a true story I'm telling you guys, and I think I mentioned this to you guys before too. So one young man, he asked me that is it permissible, and not one young man, 2 people asked me this. And one of the people who asked me this, he asked me this in Ramadan. And I know these brothers were sincere. They weren't making a joke out of me. They were asking me a sincere question, right? And the reason why I'm bringing their sincere question without mentioning their names in front of you is because maybe someone here can understand a masala, a legal verdict from this. Someone came and asked a question that is it permissible to smoke weed or cannabis in order to increase your focus in salah? Brother asked me this question. He asked me in Ramadan. He said, I stand there for 20 rakat tarawih. It's very hard to focus. So if I just roll one up a little and go a little green, then it'll help me. When I say green, I mean, get a little intoxicated a little bit. It'll help me focus in my salah. So then we have to explain to these people. And this brother, he asked me in sincerity. There's no joke about it. He asked me in sincerity. So the answer to this is, you have to remember that the means do not justify the results do not justify the means, right? The results, so you're enjoying your salah, you're reading, you're mashallah, you're with the malaika, you think you're with the malaika, and all these good things are happening, but it doesn't justify the means, right? They will always remain haram, right? Those things will always remain haram. The sharia is what the sharia is. You have to remember that principle, right? مَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوا وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. So whatever the Rasul tells you to do, you do that. Whatever the Rasul tells you not to do, you stay away from that, right? So that's the word sukara came. This will be explained intoxication. So here Allah Azza wa Jalla says that it's not permissible to come to, and before I move forward, I want to mention this again, okay? Ask yourself this question. Sometimes, the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the hadith, right, that istafti qalbak. That sometimes all you need to do is ask your heart what the fatwa is. Ask your heart that what am I doing right now, is it halal or is it haram? And the reason why I bring this up is because the second part, the things that are not intoxicating, Just because it's not intoxicating, most of us think we can throw it on whatever we want to and it's going to be halal. Is that true or false? That's false. Okay? You don't need to go to a Mufti and ask him. Right? You need to ask yourself this. That what I'm eating at home, the content of that and the frequency of that, is that good for my health or is it bad for my health? You need to ask yourself that question. Everyone's sitting here, right? The lodus that we're having, the double kamita we're having, the Kamani gosh, not Kamani gosh, what do they call it? Kamani kamita. Sorry guys. I got mutashahabiyat with Kamani gosh. So whatever it is that we're having, is it harmful to the body and what is the frequency of that? And then you'll get your answer whether it's permissible or not. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not come to salah when you are intoxicated. Now this ayah of the Quran is actually a part of a series of ayat that were revealed in regards to intoxication. We've heard this many times, this tafseer, because this method of revelation has many wisdoms in it, and it teaches us many lessons, right? The companions in Makkah Mukarramah and Medina Munawwara, they used to openly drink. There was no prohibition on it at all in the early days of Islam. Then some difficulty happened, some companions got into some arguments, many incidents took place, right? One Sahabi, he took the bone of an animal and struck it on the other guy's head. And then one incident, what happened was that some guys were partying at the house of Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu from the Ashara Mubashara, and some booze came on the table. So one Sahabi by the name of Sa'd radiallahu anhu, he had a little extra. And now when it came for Salah, he stood up, Allahu Akbar. He read Surah Fatiha, then he came to read the Surah, he said, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. Instead of saying, لَا أَعْبُدُ, he missed the la. And what did he say? أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ, that I worship what you worship too. And that's a major mistake, because it's supposed to be, I do not worship what you worship. Talking to the polytheists, the kuffar, the mushrikeen. Right? So a few incidents like this took place. Then Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, O Messenger of Allah, give us a ruling, give us a verdict regarding the intoxicating things. Such a ruling that is bayan and shafiyan. Bayan and shafiyan means clear cut. Give us a clear cut verdict on intoxication. Because what happened was that when these incidents, when the Sahaba arrived in Medina Munawwara, the first verse is revealed, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. So some scholars say there were 3 verses revealed in this sequence to make intoxicating substances haram, and some say there were 4 verses revealed. Those who say 4 verses were revealed, they say the verse of Surah Al-Nahl was also revealed regarding this. تَتَّخِذُونَ مِنْهُ سَكَرًا وَرِزْقًا حَسَنًا. That Allah Azza wa Jalla talks about the different things that grow from the ground. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تَتَّخِذُونَ مِنْهُ سَكَرًا. That from these things that grow from the ground, you take that which intoxicates you. وَرِزْقًا حَسَنًا. And some of it you benefit from through good sustenance. That was the first verse revealed, telling the Sahaba to be careful, you're not supposed to use these things for intoxication. Then the second verse is revealed, the companions asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, O Messenger of Allah, what is the ruling regarding the intoxicating things? Right? The alcohol, the wine. The Prophet ﷺ said, the word used in the Quran is khamar. And khamar means to squeeze. What does it mean? One meaning of khamar means to squeeze, the other meaning of khamar means to hide. What's the other meaning of khamar? Hide. So for example, in Arabic what we call the sheet the women wear on their head? Anyone know what it's called? Khimar. Khimar. Khimar is the sheet that the women wear around their head to cover their hair. The reason why it's called khimar is because it covers the hair. So khamar means to hide. And the other meaning khamar has, it means to squeeze. And when you make this wine, what do you have to do to these fruits? Squeeze the juice out, and you have to squeeze it out, right? So that's the other meaning of khamar that we get it from. So here the Sahaba asked the Prophet ﷺ, what is the ruling regarding the khamar, these intoxicating things? The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah Azza wa Jalla replies in the Quran by saying, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ. They ask you regarding intoxicating things, and they ask you also regarding gambling. Why are both things together? Why is gambling and intoxicating, in this question of gambling and intoxicants together? And in the Quran, their prohibition also came together too. When both were prohibited in the 3rd verse, both things came together. Why was the question of intoxications and gambling together? That's a good question. So many scholars give many reasons. One of the reasons they give is that through drinking, a person destroys his social life, and through gambling, a person destroys his financial life. You guys understand that? If a person drinks, what happens to his social life? Many people that are heavy drinkers, where do their marriages end? In divorce. And many people who have this gambling habit, where do they end? Homeless. Right? These are the 2 things. Gambling destroys your financial life, and intoxicants destroy your social life. Remember that. Okay? The other thing they say, the other reason that some of the Mufassirin gave that both of them come together, is that they say that both of them seem to have benefit. One of our friends, he owns a 7-Eleven. And he was telling me a story this week earlier on. He was saying that in my 7-Eleven, he said people come and they buy these lotto tickets. And he said, you know how many lotto tickets we sell in a month? Was it a day or a month? I don't even remember how many it was. Was it a day? It was in a day, he said, right? Yeah. He said, you know how many lotto tickets we sell in a day? I said, how much? He said, over 2,000. I said, what? Over 2,000 lotto tickets you sell in one day? And every single person has that dream that one day I might be that rich person. Maybe I might be that rich person. Maybe I might be that rich person, right? And the way people do this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save our communities. One brother, he said to me that every day there's a there's a lady in the community, I think every week or day, I'm forgetting, sorry, where she spends $250 to buy lotto tickets. How much? $250 to buy lotto tickets, because that idea that there might be some benefit there. And the same thing, many people, they drink. And in those days, the Arabs, when they used to drink, what was the benefit they would have? Because when they were intoxicated, then they could sing poetry. What was their benefit? They used to sing poetry. You know that, what's his name? Ghalib. He used to say that, you know, until I don't get my nice big pot, his jam, right? Until I don't get my pot, I can't speak. So when people wanted to hear poetry from him, they used to give him some wine and he used to open it up and drink it down, and then he used to start singing poetry. They said regarding Ghalib that one day he didn't have his wine. So he said, what do I do? So he asked everyone. I need help, can you help me? They said, no. So he said, okay, the world isn't helping me, let me ask Allah for help. So he was going to the masjid. So he sat down to do wudu, and he was performing wudu. And what was he planning to ask for? Wine. He's sitting down to do wudu. And he said, right when he sat down to do wudu, some guy came from far away, and he said, I have it, I got a bottle, one of his friends. Then he got it from the wudu when he was going home then. So when the guy next to him said, where are you going? It's almost salat time, do wudu. He goes, I came for wudu to ask for the wine, but I got the wine, so what's the need of wudu now? He went back home. But he was a sincere person too. We shouldn't make, we talk about him. He was a sincere person because in the sense that sometimes people have mistakes, they have some weaknesses they have, but in their heart they have sincerity. Because Al-Ghalibi always said regarding himself, he said that, I want to end my habit of drinking. So whenever I think about the harms of drinking, I make tawbah to Allah. Oh Allah, I'm sorry. Oh Allah, I'm sorry. But then he said what happens is that after my tawbah is done, when I sit down, that bottle comes in front of me again. He goes, so I do tawbah and I break my bottles, and then sometimes I pick up the bottle and I break my tawbah too. Right? So what he was basically trying to say is that the human being, even this was actually a poem, there's a little piece of poetry. He said, Toba meri jam shikan, jam meri toba shikan. That's what he said. Right? He said, Toba meri jam shikan. That when I do toba, that means I smash my bottles. And then he said, Jam meri toba shikan. And then sometimes I drink the bottle and I smash my toba. What he was trying to say in this poem right here was that the human being's life is a struggle. It's a continuous struggle. You give and take, you give and take, you give and take. But his point was that as long as you're in that struggle, there is a hope in the hereafter. But if you never entered into the struggle, and if you were just enjoying this wine, and you never brought the tawbah in the middle, then you're responsible, and then you have no hope in the hereafter. That was the point that he was trying to make when he said this right here. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing, the reason why the Mufassirin say that this khamr and maisir come together, right? Khamr and maisir, this gambling and alcohol, the reason, not alcohol, wine, the reason why they come together is because that when a person drinks, most people that drink, what's the next thing they do? They gamble. Most people that drink, what's the next thing they do? Gamble. So you go to any gambling, whatever they call this, casinos, what's the main item on the menu? Drinks. And many places in this, what's that place called in the West Coast? Las Vegas, right? Many places in Las Vegas, what do they say? Drinks are on us. Drinks are on us. You drink as much as you want, and you spend as much money you want, and we'll become rich in return of your drinks, right? So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that this is very important. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save our youth and save our adults from this too. Women, they come and complain that my husband, he drinks, and my wife, my husband, he's gambling. They're crying. They're in trouble. I've seen cases like this as a child growing up, right? In different families, different communities, families within our community we saw, and also when we traveled the world, we went to different places and we saw wives making these complaints. And today also we see people making these complaints, right? We're lucky that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted us parents who saved us from these filthy things. Otherwise, the time that we live in, these things are very common, and we see them taking place all throughout the world, where everyone's doing it, right? And wives are making complaints that my husband overdrinks, and what does he do then after he drinks? He beats me up. He beats me up. He beats me up. He's beating me up. And in England, this is also a very common thing, especially in the culture that English people have there, where they drink a lot. They drink a lot there, abundantly, right? Where the wife abuse is on another level altogether. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from this. So here, after that verse was revealed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that there is some benefit and some harm in it. Then like I mentioned, an incident took place. Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anh, he invited some companions to his house. Amongst them was Sa'd radiallahu anh. Sa'd radiallahu anh, after he drank some, it was time for salah. Even when they were drunk, they stood up for salah. They stood up for salah and he started leading, and in Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun, he made a big mistake. After the salah was over, some companions came and they complained to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that Sa'd made this big mistake in salah, and it was because he was intoxicated. So then Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed this verse of the Quran, which was, according to some, the second verse revealed, according to some, it was the third verse revealed regarding intoxications. And what is that? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la taqrabu as-salah wa antum sukara. Do not come close to salah while you are intoxicated. So now what this meant was that for the companions to intoxicate themselves was not permissible during salah times. So like basically 1 hour before, 2 hours before salah, they would stop, right? Or if they wanted to drink, they would drink the last thing at night. Last thing at night they would drink, and then in the morning, back to salah time, when they would wake up, everything would be normal again. But then the last verse was revealed, and as I mentioned, some Mufassirin say this was the fourth verse revealed, some say it was the third verse revealed. In the seventh juz of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very clearly, He very clearly writes, He very clearly says it there, that فَاجْتَنِبُوا الرِّجْسَ مِنَ الْأَوْثَانِ, that stay away from these dirty and filthy things. فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ, stay away from it so that you may be successful. فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ, stay away from this gambling and this intoxicants so that you may be successful. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that do not come close to salah while you are in the state of intoxication. Along with this, I'll make another extension, right? Do not come to salah in any state that you are not representable in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not come to salah in any state that you are not representable in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told his companions, that do not eat raw, what do you call this? Onions and garlic. Don't eat raw onions and garlic before coming to the masjid, right? Because فَإِنَّ الْمَلَائِكَةَ تَتَأَذَّى مِمَّا يَتَأَذَّى مِنْهُ الْإِنسِ, because the angels dislike the smell that human beings dislike. Sometimes we're standing in salah and the person next to us, he decided to smoke a cigarette on the way to the masjid, right? On the way to the masjid he was smoking. So when he comes in the masjid and he's standing next to you, what can you smell? That's what you can smell. And now you're trying to focus on salah, but the problem that you're having now is that you can't focus. Now the person who didn't smoke, mashallah, he should be able to enjoy his salah, but because the person next to him, now he's struggling right now. And many people, they think by 1 or 2 sprays, mashallah, we're good to go, right? If a human being has a nose, he can smell it. Do you understand? So you should be careful. If it's something you're struggling with, something you're trying to get past, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you help, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you. And if you aren't trying, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the tawfiq to even at least start trying to get past it, right? And the second thing is that when you come to the masjid, make sure you don't smell like that, because that is a big crime. That's a big crime in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that a person comes to the masjid with such smell in their body, with such smell in their clothes, with such smell in their hands. Right? You should be very careful of this. And the same thing goes with anything else. Like you were at home and you were cooking, you come to the masjid, wash your hands. You were at home, you were eating, especially the Indian spices, they stay on your hands, right? And we eat with our hands. Before you come to the masjid, what should you do? Wash your hands. There was a case like this, I'm telling you, in England, there was one masjid I was in, I won't mention the masjid's name, where people started complaining because they started getting these skin problems. And the people had the authorities come in and they checked the carpet, and the carpet was very filthy, right? It wasn't that the people weren't cleaning the carpet, but it was that the people that were coming and praying there, they were leaving such stuff behind on that carpet that it became a problem for the community. And it was the first masjid that I saw in my life that they actually had to close it down. Right? They actually had to close the masjid down because people were coming in the carpet and coming in the masjid in an inappropriate way. So before you come in the masjid, dry your feet. Don't come in the masjid with wet feet, right? Because now that part of the masjid there, many people, they come and tell me that by the door when I pray salah, it doesn't smell good, right? It's not the problem. The masjid's doing their job. The masjid has this place clean, like more cleaner than our houses would be. And considering that we have 100 and 200 people in here, maybe 400 or 500 people in here per day, right? The masjid is beautifully clean. But as soon as the musalli aren't careful, right? They come in the masjid with wet feet. They come in the masjid with these smells on, with these orders, and they come in the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ, he became angry with the companions who would not do their ghusl before coming to Jum'ah Salah. You guys know the hadith, right? He would become angry with them, and he would tell them, stand up and go do your ghusl and then come back to the masjid, because that would bring a bad odor to the masjid. Some kids, they play basketball, they play in the masajid that have courts in them, they play basketball there, they play soccer there, and when salah time, what do? Run in the masjid with the same socks, with the same clothes on. And the person that's standing next to you in salah, how is he feeling? He's not enjoying it. So the same thing, I want to make an extension there, okay? That where the Quran says here that don't come to the salah in the state of intoxication, don't come to the masjid in any state that you are not presentable in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya bani Adam, khudhu zinatakum inda kulli masjid. When you come to the masjid, beautify yourself. Be ready, look smart, look sharp, then come to the masjid. Do the best you can, right, when you come to the masjid. Okay, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, for these companions, it was not permissible for them to come to salah or pray salah until they knew what they were saying, until they sobered up, right? Until they knew what they were saying. وَلَا جُنُبًا, it is not permissible to come to salah in the state of janaba. Right? The state of janaba, what does janaba mean? Okay. Literally, janaba means a distance. What does it mean? Distance. But more, like, what do you call this? From a shari perspective, right? From a legal perspective, what is the definition that we give for janaba? The definition that we give is that the state of one under obligation to perform ghusl. The state of one under obligation to perform ghusl, a complete bath, due to having sexual intercourse or ejaculation or exiting the menstrual cycle or postnatal bleeding, right? Postpartum bleeding. So there are 4 things that make ghusl janaba fard, right? That make ghusl fard on a person. So janaba is a state in which ghusl now is mandatory. How many things make wudu mandatory? According to the Hanafi school of thought. How many things make it mandatory? 8. How many things make wudu mandatory? 8 things make wudu mandatory. And if you don't know that, it's a good idea to pick up a fiqh book and study those 8 things. Okay? Amongst them is urinating, passing feces, letting blood flow, vomiting, intoxication, going to sleep because your body goes loose, right? Becoming insane. So all these things are there. Laughing out loud during salah. There are 8 things that make the wudu break. How many things make the ghusl break? 4 things. The first thing, right? Any sort of ejaculation, right? But that ejaculation must happen with, what do you call this? It must come out with ala wajh difqi wa shahwa. There must be a desire, a passion, like for example, a joy involved when that ejaculation takes place. And the second thing is that it must spurt out as opposed to just falling out. Right? I know this is a little explicit for many of us, maybe for the young ones sitting here, maybe inappropriate, but for the greater part of the gathering, it's beneficial. Okay? These are the 2 conditions. So for example, if some young man, and this happens sometimes, not only young men, people who have diseases, they say that, oh, I feel sperm is falling out of my private area. Will this break my wudu or not? It will not break the wudu. It may break the wudu, but it will not break the ghusl. Right? Because in order for the ghusl to break, these 2 conditions are there. So that's the first thing. Any sort of ejaculation. The second thing is sexual intercourse with one's spouse. Okay? Or for that sake, beyond the spouse, I feel bad even saying this, with the same gender or even bestiality, that will also break your ghusl. Right? The third thing that will break your ghusl is the ending of the menstrual cycle. As for the women, when the menstrual cycle comes to an end, now in order to become pure again, what's necessary? The ghusl is necessary. And the fourth thing is postpartum bleeding after they give birth to the child. When that bleeding comes to an end, now ghusl is also necessary. It must be done. Now in order for this ghusl to be complete, there are certain etiquettes and adab the scholars have mentioned, but there are 3 mandatory things that must be done in order for the ghusl to count. When ghusl becomes fard on you, how many things are necessary? You must do 3 things. If any of these 3 things are missing, will that ghusl count? It will not count. What are the 3 things? The first thing, rinsing your mouth. Number 2, your nose. Number 3, washing the entire body. The entire body includes here, it includes the belly button, it includes underneath your arms, it includes any creases that might exist in the body. Everywhere through, the person must make sure water reaches it. Right? This is what you call a ritual purification or a ghusl al-janaba. Right? That must be done properly. Until that's not done, can you come in the masjid? No, it's not permissible to come to the masjid. It's not even permissible to step inside the masjid. According to the Hanafi school of thought, it's not permissible to step inside the masjid. And what's also not permissible? Reading Quran. So salah is not permissible. Entering into the masjid is not permissible. And the third thing that's not permissible is the recitation of Quran. And the Hanafi school of thought, we say this is for men and women both. All 3 things are prohibited. They cannot enter into the masjid. That's why when a person is in the state of janaba, especially for women, ICC has the upstairs open that the sisters can sit upstairs and they can listen rather than coming inside the masjid, right? And the same thing goes for. So these two things can happen. You cannot pray salah, you cannot enter into the masjid, and you cannot recite the Quran. However, if you wish to recite the Quran, but you have an intention of dua, then it's permissible. You guys understand that? If you're reciting verses of the Quran, but what's your intention? For example, you have the habit of reading رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Every morning when you wake up, you have the habit of reading that 10 times. Let's just say you have the habit of doing that. Now, you are in the state of janaba. There's a lady who's in her menstrual cycle for 10 days. Is it permissible for her to read that 10 times every morning? That's an ayat of the Quran though. Is it permissible or not? Yes, it is. Why is it permissible? Because she has intention of dua, she does not have intention of recitation of the Quran. The same thing goes with the Fatiha. However, if it's a verse of the Quran that's usually not read for dua, then you can't do that. Like for example, some sister wakes up one day and she says, رُبَّمَا يَوَدُّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَوْ كَانُوا مُسْلِمِينَ. You can't do that. You can't just get up and say, SubhanAllah asra bi abdi, and I'm reading it with the intention of dua. That won't count. It has to be an ayah that's read for dua, or has the meaning of dua in there. Okay, so that's that. Now, it's permissible to cross the masjid if it's necessary. Let's say, for example, there is a man who's doing i'tikaf, okay? And he's sitting in the corner of the masjid and he falls asleep there. When he wakes up, he realizes that now ghusl is fard on him. So what will he do? It's permissible for him to cross the masjid. It's permissible to cross the masjid if there is no other way around. If there's no other way around, then it's permissible to cross the masjid. Otherwise, you will need to exit the masjid. That's why the scholars say that when you sleep in the masjid, one of the etiquettes of sleeping in the masjid is that you should have underneath you a sheet, right? So in case anything does happen while one's sleeping, that impurity does not come from the masjid. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O you who have believed, do not approach prayer while you are intoxicated until you know what you are saying, or in the state of janaba, except those passing through a place of prayer until you have washed your whole body." Until you have washed your whole body. We've understood all that. Now here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن كُنْتُم مَرْضَى أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ وَجَاءَ أَحَدٌ مِّنكُم مِّنَ الْغَائِطِ أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَلَمْ تَجِدُوا مَاءً فَتَيَمَّمُوا صَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا فَامْسَحُوا بِوُجُوهِكُمْ وَأَيْدِيكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَفْوًا غَفُورًا. And if you are ill or on a journey, or one of you comes from the place of relieving himself, or if you have contacted women, has sexual intercourse, and find no water, then seek clean earth and wipe over your faces and hands with it. Indeed, Allah is ever pardoning and forgiving. If you break your wudu, or if you are now in a major state of impurity, meaning you require a ghusl, you require a shower, and you do not have access to water, what happens now? Do you guys understand the question? Mm-hmm. You cannot use water. And why can't you use water? There could be different reasons. Water could be right in front of you, but you can't access it. Why? Because you have a skin disease. And what do the doctors say? No water for you. Or the water may be extremely salty and your wound is cut open. And if you put that salty water on your wound, what's going to happen? You may get an infection. So now what do? Or for example, you wake up, it's extremely cold. The water is there, but it's also extremely cold. And if you take a shower that's going to harm your health, and you know it's going to harm your health, and a cold shower that can also lead to death at times, right? That's how Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu died. That's how many scholars say he died. That one day he woke up, he took a shower, it was early in the morning, it was a cold season, he took a shower with cold water, and then a few days later, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu passed away, right? And they say that, the doctors at the time, they said it was because of that cold shower that he took. So that can happen at times, right? You may think you're tough, I'm Superman and I'm going to take a shower, right? But when you take that shower with cold water and you don't have any clothes, anything to dry yourself with, you don't have a warm place there, it can harm your body. Or sometimes you can't see any water, there's no water around you, within a 1 mile radius, nowhere there is there any water. So all these scenarios can be there. If these scenarios are present, and you do not have access to water, whatever the reason may be, sometimes the water may be right there, and you are healthy too. But the problem is the water is at the bottom of the well, and there's no access to that water. You guys understand that? The water is at the bottom of the well, but you have no access. Sometimes that happens, right? There's one tap. When you travel sometimes in these third world countries, especially in India and Pakistan and stuff, you come to these small villages where there's a little musafir khana there, small little place where the travelers stop by, and when you come there, they have a little washroom there. In that washroom, sometimes the handle's jammed, and you try to turn it and twist it, but the water isn't coming out of there. So now you don't have access to that water. What are you going to do? So here the Sharia says in that state you will do tayammum. What will you do? Tayammum. Now, tayammum is something that's khas with this ummah. There was no such thing as tayammum in the previous nations. It's a khasiyah, it's a specialty of this ummah. And how this tayammum came around, it's actually a very interesting story. The Sahaba were traveling with the Prophet ﷺ, and Aisha radiallahu anha was also with them. And the Sahaba began to move from one place to the next place, and as they were moving, they took a pit stop in the middle. And when they so they left one place, they had these things called a manzil. When they traveled, when the Arabs would travel, what did they have? Manzil. The manzil was like the oasis. You know, when we drive on the highways, we have oasis. We have like a service station. So you drive and there's a major place where everyone stops. And then you drive for many miles and then there's the next major place where everyone stops. The Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba stopped at that major station where everyone would be. Like there was a little city there, water there, people were there. And then they moved from there and they were heading to the next place. On the way to the next place, what happened was that they took a little break in the middle. Right? So now they're between two major service stations, if you wish to say, okay? And they're in the middle. And when they're resting there, what happens is that a small little pit stop they make. And they take a little rest there and they're getting up and moving on in order to reach the next station because they need to be there for salah. They don't have water for wudu. Now here, Aisha radiallahu anha, when she's getting up, what happens? She realizes that what's missing? Her necklace is missing. She's searching, where's my necklace gone? Where's my necklace gone? She can't find it. She tells the Prophet ﷺ, and you know, I'm sure anyone who's married has experienced at least some part of their life where you have to go somewhere and your wife says, I'm losing something. I lost something. I lost my phone. I lost my purse. I lost my wallet. I lost my passport. And you're frustrated. Where did you put it? I told you not to lose it. I told you to look after that. So the Prophet ﷺ says to her, okay, you go find it now. Now if she's looking for it, the Prophet ﷺ stays behind. Now if the Prophet ﷺ stayed behind, will the Sahaba go forward or will they stay behind too? They all stayed behind. Now they're all waiting. A lot of times clicking away. Situation's getting a lot more tense because all of it's on whose fault is it now, apparently? Aisha radiallahu anha. So everyone's really mad at her. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anha, he comes to Aisha radiallahu anha. And the Prophet ﷺ, while waiting, he waits and waits and waits. And he says to Aisha, did you find it yet? She said, oh Messenger of Allah, I haven't found it yet. So the Prophet ﷺ says, okay, while other people are looking, let me take a little rest at least. Since we're here, I might as well rest a little. So now the other people are looking, Aisha radiallahu anha sits down. The Prophet ﷺ puts his head on Aisha radiallahu anha's lap and he falls asleep. So he's resting until they find the necklace. So while everyone's looking now, they're looking for that necklace. The Prophet ﷺ is sleeping on Aisha radiallahu anha's lap. Now Aisha radiallahu anha's father comes, Abu Bakr. And he says, Aisha, what's wrong with you? Because of you, we can't go forward. Everyone's going to miss their salah. Everyone's salah is a jeopardy here. And these people were serious when it came to salah, by the way. And there was no concept of tayammum. So in their mind, all these people here, what was going to happen to them? And in some narrations, they were returning back from jihad. So they just did something major right now, and they're about to miss a salah. And they're very mad. And Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu is extremely upset. And he's telling her, you're this, you made it in the salah, and you give the Prophet trouble all the time, and he's going on and on and on. And he becomes so upset with her that he comes very close to her, because since the Prophet is sleeping, he can't scream at her, can he? So what is he doing? He's very close and he's whispering and shouting at the same time at her. And he becomes so angry with her that what does he start to do? Aisha radiallahu anha says, فَجَعَلَ يَطْعُنُ بِيَدِهِ فِي خَاسِرَتِي. And he began to poke me with his finger inside my hips. He was poking me like this. فَجَعَلَ يَطْعُنُ بِيَدِهِ فِي خَاسِرَتِي. Not finger, بِيَدِهِ, his hand, right? He was taking his hand and he was poking her inside his, because that was his daughter, right? Poking her inside her hips. Like, what did you do? What did you do? So she says, وَلَا يَمْنَعُ مِنَ التَّحَرُّكِ إِلَّا مَكَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ فَخِذٍ. She says that I was dying to jump from there and say, stop. But she says, I couldn't. Because the Prophet ﷺ was sleeping on my lap. فَقَامَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ حِينَ أَصْبَحَ عَلَىٰ غَيْرِ مَاءٍ. The Prophet ﷺ then woke up and he saw there was no water there. فَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ آيَةَ التَّيَمُّمِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this verse of the Quran. وَإِن كُنتُم مَرْضَىٰ أَوْ عَلَىٰ سَفَرٍ أَوْ جَاءَ أَحَدٌ مِّنكُم مِّنَ الْغَائِطِ أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَلَمْ تَجِدُوا مَاءً فَتَيَمَّمُوا صَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا. Now these verses were revealed, and then after this, Abu Bakr Siddiq, the Prophet ﷺ said that how many times has the family of Abu Bakr brought ease on my ummah? Because this is a big bonus for the ummah, right? So the Prophet ﷺ said, how many times has it been that this family of Abu Bakr has favored the ummah? How many times have they done this? And this is another example of it. And Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu came to Aisha and said, MashaAllah, very good, very good. Very good job. MashaAllah, Allah going to reward you, Allah give you barakah. Right? The hadith is narrated by Imam Bukhari ﷺ, and also by Imam Muslim ﷺ. And then she says that, فَبَعَثْنَا الْبَعِيرَ عَلَى الَّذِي كُنْتُ عَلَيْهِ. Now, they couldn't find it. They prayed tayammum, they did salah and everything. It's the same hadith of Sayyid Bukhari. So she says that finally she said, O Messenger of Allah, I think it was in taqdeer that I lose that necklace. They said, okay, let's go on. So then Aisha radiallahu anha, she mounted the camel that she was traveling on. And when the camel stood up, فَبَعَثْنَا الَّذِي بَعِيرَ الَّذِي كُنْتُ عَلَيْهِ فَوَجَدْنَا الْعَقْدَ تَحْتَهُ. We found the necklace where? underneath that camel. As soon as the camel stood up, they found the necklace there. وَقَدْ رَوَاهُ الْبُخَارِي وَمُسْلِمْ, and it's narrated by Bukhari and Imam Muslim rahmatullahi alayhi wa. Now, what's the method of performing tayammum? We've gone very far into our class and we haven't finished the first ayah yet. But anyway, right? What's the method of performing tayammum? It's important to know this. So you can only perform tayammum if you do not have access to water, first thing, okay? And either that could be through an illness, like I mentioned earlier on, either that means you don't have access to the water, either that means that between you and the water there's danger. People said this, right? You know, for example, especially when the Indian and Pakistan, you know, when the riots were happening, people wrote questions to the scholars saying that we don't have water in our house. In order to get water, we have to go to the river. And there are people standing outside with knives. And if we go outside to get the water from the river, what's going to happen? They're going to kill us. They're going to attack us. So what do we do? So what do the scholars say in return? You should do tayammum. Between you and the water, if there is some harm there, danger, you can do tayammum. Sometimes you're traveling on the highway and there's no water. What do you do now? Okay. If there's no water in how much radius? 1 mile radius. 1 mile radius, if there is no water at all, then it may be permissible for you to do tayammum. Bear in mind, in America, many of the highways pass cornfields. And this cornfield has huge tanks of water. So be careful before you do your tayammum, okay? And, you know, especially in our day and age, especially when you're traveling, if you're traveling by car, you can easily get a hold of water. If you plan carefully, right? And when you have your own car, you can carry water with you. There's many substitutes. Don't just jump on tayammum unnecessarily. However, if on 1 mile radius you don't have water, you need to do tayammum. Well, now, how do you do tayammum? In order for tayammum to count, the first thing is you have to have the right substance to do tayammum from. According to the Hanafi school of thought, the substance must be from the earth. What does it have to be from? The earth. And the second thing is that it must be something that doesn't burn to ashes. It does not burn to ashes. The soil, sand, something of this type, you can easily use for tayammum. You cannot use metal, you cannot use plastic, you cannot use glass, you cannot use none of this stuff you can use for tayammum. Okay? So when you find the substance, what you will do is you will take both of your hands. First you will make niyyah. There are three obligations of tayammum. How many? 3. The first thing is you have to have intention. According to the Hanafi school of thought, in wudu do you need intention? No. But in tayammum, you have to have intention. You have to have intention in tayammum. You need to first make intention that I'm doing tayammum. The second thing what you will do is that now you will take your hands, hit them against the ground or the substance that you have. Then what you will do is take your hands and keep them facing downwards. So you took your hands, your palms facing downwards, you touch them into the sand, you then lift your hands up, and you take your thumbs and hit them against one another. The purpose of hitting them against one another is that if there's any sand or any substance on your hand, what happens to that substance? It falls. It falls down. So you don't have sand or soil all over your face, right? Once you've done that, now you will take these hands and wipe them all over your face. Make sure you cover everything. And then what you'll do that same procedure again. This time you will take the left hand, rub it all over the right arm, and then take the right hand and rub it all over the left arm. This is the method of tayammum. Once you've done that, your tayammum is done. You can do tayammum for wudu, and you can also do tayammum for ghusl. If a person doesn't have ghusl, what do they do? What kind of tayammum do they do? There are narrations that there was a companion, he knew that if you don't have water for ghusl, you're supposed to do tayammum. So he didn't know what to do, so what he did was he lied down in the sand and he started spinning. He started rolling. They came to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ said, no, for tayammum, even for ghusl or wudu, what do you have to do? Same thing. The face and the hands. That's it. There's nothing more than that required at all. Okay. Now there are some other masail here too. We'll just mention one more. People ask this question all the time, that's what I'll mention, right? People ask that, what do we do when we are in the plane and the plane runs out of water? Big problem, right? When you're in the plane and the plane runs out of water, what do you do now? Okay. So the problem is that in planes, first thing, right, they have limited water. And especially when you're going to Hajj, I've seen almost every year, when we're going to Hajj, and if there are 2 salahs at least on the way there, the water is definitely going to go out. Okay, because you have 300 passengers, they're all in ihram, and they're all doing wudu, right? And while doing wudu, what do we do a good job at? Wasting water, mashallah, right? We have a good record of doing that. So we waste so much water, now what happens is that the air hostess has to at some point stop people from doing wudu. Because if they don't stop people from doing wudu, what's going to happen? The toilet's going to be a problem, right? And if they need water for anything else, it's going to be a problem. So what happens is that many times on the plane, sometimes they won't even let you do wudu. They'll say no wudu for you. And the Muslim airlines are good at doing this. They'll say no wudu. The non-Muslim airlines will let you do it because they don't know what's happening. The Muslim airlines know what's happening. They know it's salat time and everyone's going to get up right now. So they'll say, everyone sit down. No one stand up from their place. Only the one who needs to go to the toilet. Right? So now if the water runs out or they don't let you do wudu without water, now what happens? Okay, look around you. You have your seat, the seat made of leather, can you use that? No. In front of you have a plastic table, can you use that? To your side you have a fiberglass window, can you use that? No. You have some magazines there, can you use that? So now what are you going to use? Right? If it's some Pakistan or Indian airline, you might find some sand inside the seat. Right? Otherwise you're not going to find anything. Now if you're stranded there, sitting there, and you don't have any sand or anything, now what do? Now you have to understand there are 4 opinions in this matter. So there's a little poem regarding it. I won't go through the whole poem and everything. According to the Hanafi school of thought, what they say is that you will pray salah without wudu and then you will repeat it again. What do they say? You will pray salah without wudu and you will repeat it again. My teacher, however, one thing he used to say, you will pray salah and that's it. You won't need to repeat it again. Right? But however, what's the traditional Hanafi school of thought opinion? Pray it and do qada again. Na'am, na'am. Both things, right? So there's a little poem, Malik bi, Ahmad bi, Shafi bi, Urham. Right? There's a little poem that goes, and then it goes on and on. It goes, la, la, na'am, la, la, na'am, na'am, na'am. That's a little secret in there for those of you who know fiqh, you'll understand it, okay? Otherwise, you don't know what's happening. Right? So then na'am, na'am means you will pray it and you will do qada afterwards. Both things there. Okay? You will pray it and you will do qada afterwards. So that's that masla there. It's an important one, so you mentioned that there. Should we move forward or should we stop? It's 46. We'll stop here then, inshallah. Next week we'll continue from verse number 44. Next class, inshallah and Aziz will continue from verse number 44. Just want to make one announcement that next week there will be no class, as I'll be traveling, inshallah, Thursday morning for 9 days, and I will not be here for next Tuesday. So Tuesday there is no class. The week after, inshallah, we will let you know, because I will try my best to do the class, but it's possible that I may not be able to do it. So we will let you know. Those of you who have the email, who are on our email listserv, please do join on. And those who aren't, you'll get the email updates. And those who aren't, please do join so you can get the email updates regarding when the classes are and when the classes aren't. The second announcement that I want to make before we end the class is that this Saturday is the first Saturday of the month, first Saturday of April. And every first Saturday of the month we have, especially at the I'tikaf program at ICC for the youth and also for the adults. For this I'tikaf program, we have a guest speaker, Sheikh Hamza Warad Maqbool, who also spoke at the Surah program earlier on in this month at ICC. So he'll be coming, inshallah, and he'll be spending the night with us. He'll be delivering the Jummah khutbah, inshallah, this Friday at ICC. And then, actually, no, he already did last Friday, right? So this Friday is someone else. He did last Friday. And then, but however, Saturday, inshallah, Saturday night, he will be with us to do I'tikaf, inshallah. So all brothers are requested to come behind, inshallah, stay with us, and note that down inside your counters this Saturday, spend time with us. And inshallah, let me just give you a heads up, next Saturday, the next month after that. So after April we have, after March we have April. In April, the first Saturday of the month, inshallah Aziz, we will have one of our all-time favorites doing i'tikaf with us, someone that we've been wanting to do i'tikaf with us for a long time, and he was with us in i'tikaf almost 2 years ago, and many people really enjoyed his company, Sheikh Yusuf Az-Zahabi, who was with us for the i'tikaf program while I was at Umrah that one Ramadan. He came from England, so inshallah he'll be visiting us again. And we've asked him to do the i'tikaf program for April, the first Saturday, and he has agreed to do so. So inshallah, if his trips go safe and sound and he arrives safely, inshallah Aziz. And April, the first Saturday night of the month, Sheikh Yusuf will be with us, inshallah Aziz. So book both of these down, inshallah, and be sure to benefit. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Subhanallah, bihamdihi, subhanakallah, bihamdihi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka.